Welcome back. I am sure you've heard about the latest riot in Chicago, and I'll have to give Mayor Lori Lightfoot creds because she basically said it like it was, that these are riots and they didn't have any right to do it, to riot and loot. Now, it started with, I'm sure you've heard the story, that a young man was brandishing a weapon. And what happens is the people who call the police are the people who are in the situation, vulnerable, could get harmed or killed. Be a woman, she's getting beat up, or she was raped, or somebody's trying to rape her. And it's usually the community that calls the police in situations in cities like Chicago is the African Americans that do, because they need help, they need protection. So they call the police. So they need someone to come to help them. So in this instance, they did the right thing. They called. And the young man was also African American who was brandishing the weapon, possibly going to hurt or kill someone. The officers come. He runs away, resists arrest, and then turns around and starts shooting at the officers. And there's only one thing the officers are trained to do, is to shoot back, because he's shooting at the officers. He could kill every single one of them. Every single one of them might have a family and children, like a wife or a husband and children. Or maybe they just have a family and friends. And all those police officers will be lost to this world. But the thinking is that no, those police officers should just die. They shouldn't shoot back. They shouldn't protect their lives. This used to be all okay, if your life was in danger. This is self-protection. Someone is shooting at you. They were trying to arrest him because he was brandishing a weapon, ready to hurt somebody. And if your life is in danger, or if someone's life is in danger, it's always been that you have a right, in danger of being killed, to, there's a word for it, to nullify the attacker in some way. If you can shoot them in the arm, great, but the shooting is going on so fast and the person is moving constantly that it isn't like you're shooting at a target that's not moving. The person is all over the place. And you have to nullify that target. Otherwise, all these officers, which include African Americans that have families that they'd like to go home to, could get killed. Well, the moment that this happened, instead of saying, well, we don't want anybody to die, and this young man could have killed other African Americans who didn't have weapons, unarmed and vulnerable. That's why they called the police. You don't care about their lives either. I understand you want the cops to go away and die, and that's okay with you. What about the lives of these other African Americans? But it's Chicago, and it happens all the time, doesn't it? And nobody seems to care. So it was almost like it was set up. U-Haul trucks pulled up to Macy's and Best Buy and Louis Vuitton, and they started, the first thing they did was, let's smash and grab. Let's loot and fill up the trucks. They were going crazy. Now, what happens? This is happening all over the country. It's interesting, last night, when I was doing my live stream, I was talking about these riots were continuing all over the country. And they're not, the media isn't telling us about everything that's going on because it wasn't helping Biden. It was actually hurting Biden. And that part of the live stream, the volume went off. I thought that was very interesting. You might not realize this, but anytime cities are burned down, riots ensue, stores are smashed and looted, businesses are burned to the ground, homes are burned to the ground, homes are looted, the insurance goes up, and the cost of the real estate goes down. So the cost of your home, the cost of your business, everything goes down. Or the insurance agencies will not insure your business, they will not insure your home. So what happens is, like it happened in Detroit, it used to be highest grossing cities in this country until the riots happened in the 60s. Martin Luther King was assassinated. That happened in Memphis, but all over the country, everything was burned down. Detroit is mostly dead zones. It never came back. Whole parts of the city, let's say 2/3 of the city, are completely desert because no one can move back in because they can't insure the housing. They can't insure the businesses. The businesses are gone forever. What you've done is not only have you burned down your city, looted your city. Oh, that's great. You've got some stuff now. Everything is gone. No business will come back. If there's another incident, there'll be no more businesses to loot. And there will also be no more homes for you to go live in. You'll have no place to live because you cannot get a building permit. You've got to have insurance. The property must be insured before you get a building permit so you can build homes for people. So if you keep destroying this country, there will be no place. Maybe you'll be able to have a tent or a wiki up, but there'll be no insurance should any of your property be stolen or destroyed. Or let's say you build your own little cabin. If it gets destroyed, you're not going to get any insurance money. Nobody's going to see. Why would anybody help you rebuild when they know it's going to just get burned down and destroyed? You see, insurance agencies or businesses, oh, you have to tear down the whole system. That's right. What are you going to live in? Who's going to build any of this? Why would construction workers and architects draw up plans to build really nice buildings for people who burn down this nation? Do you honestly think they're going to put their heart and soul in? And I'm speaking to AOC too, who wants the whole new Green Deal and everything destroyed and built up again like communist Russia in cement row houses. You're going to live in little prisons. You're going to be lucky if you get a cement row house in these little prisons, if they even build that for you to live in after you've gone crazy and looted and burned and destroyed. Because when you bring in communism, the people who do those things, people like Antifa and BLM, are exactly like everybody. Here's the list again. The brown shirts, the black shirts, Mao's Red Guard, the Khmer Rouge, Stalin's Red Army. They're vandals, they're very young, and they're crazy. And after they're done destroying everything, beating everyone into submission, making everybody scared, then you bring in the real police, like the Gestapo. That's right. Last night I made a mistake. My house was so hot. It's amazing that I remembered what I did, and I remembered a lot. But it was so hot that I forgot the Gestapo. How could I forget that when I went through so many years of history class on the Nazi regime, watching sometimes back-to-back episodes of Hogan's Heroes? It was always the Gestapo and the torture tactics, and they were dressed in black, the Gestapo. How could I forget that? Every single day I said to my sister, I know this is all sound effects. You know, my nephew, when he comes here, he watches those shows for, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. He's a little bit older now. And just the sound of those shows and the kid talking and their, I don't know, the situations that they put, everything, it's not like it's boring. It's really irritating. So I looked at her and I said, why don't you turn on Hogan's Heroes, for God's sakes? The kid'll never learn. How is he going to learn about World War II and the Nazis if you don't put on Hogan's Heroes for the poor kid? Actually, it was for me because my mind was going crazy. But this is what's going to happen. They have to kill off, the brown shirts were killed off by the Nazis, by the Gestapo. It's called the Night of the Long Knives. Have to kill them off. Mao put his beloved Red Guard in front of a firing squad and sent the rest to live in harsh conditions in the country. We're not talking about take me home country roads and frolicking in a field. These were cold, hard conditions where they worked to death and all died. This is what happens when you change a country over to a communist country. That's what Marxism is. It's communist. But Marxism, it speaks about the worker, people who actually work. And the people who can't work are killed off. They're old, they're sickly, they're disabled. They get killed off because they don't feed them, don't make enough food for everyone. So those people get killed off because there are bread lines, and these people can't stand in the bread lines. So this is what you're looking. You think you are burning the country down for a free ride. It's going to be a free ride for you. And you can get away with it because all the liberals are cheering you on. Hollywood is giving you money. Well, all these, and you're not going to have any police to protect you. Who are you going to call when the crime is happening to you, when you're about to get killed, when you're about to get raped, or somebody's trying to burn down your house? Who are you going to call? Because these Hollywood people all have bodyguards, all have gated communities, just like all the politicians. Everyone that's backing destroying the police already has their armed guards with guns. And this Democrat Party, from the beginning with the Ku Klux Klan, which was it was the terrorist arm of the Democrat Party. They're the ones who initiated gun control, so they could take guns away from freed slaves and descendants of slaves, so they could go out and lynch them at night, terrorize them and lynch them. And the Democrat Party is still on gun control to this day. They want to take away all the guns and all the police. The police are there to protect you, not a nationalized Gestapo like in Germany or in China or in Cambodia or in Russia, but a local police force that is the chief of police is picked by the mayor of the city. Just one moment, my dog is barking. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption, but my dog had to go out. Your local police force is not a police force that's formed by, like a baseball team, where they can get people from all over the country to come and play for a certain team. They were not born in this state. These aren't hometown people. Your police force is made up of people who live in your town, people, your neighbors, basically your neighbors. And you may know you may know their children. Your children might be going to school with their children. That's what's good about this. It's not a national thing where people come and move into your city that don't know you and they don't care about you and they don't care about your city. They're complete strangers, but you say, yeah, I know you. And their parents have lived in that town and the grandparents. So the police aren't foreign. They have a stake in the community because it's their community that they're protecting. This is their home too. That's why there are some bad cops, there are some bad people too. There are some bad people who are not police officers. There are bad politicians too. We know this. There's always, in that song Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, there's good and bad in everyone. And it was about Ebony and Ivory living in perfect harmony on the piano keyboard. And it's a nice thought, isn't it? So you can't label, nobody should label the African American, oh, they're all Trump. No, they're not. Or Puerto Ricans, or any person from Mexico, or no matter where they come from, all white people, because if you talk to white people, they come from all different parts of the world, and some of them are mixed, even if they have very, very light skin. You don't know until you get to know them, or what their life experience is. Their life experience could be harder than yours. And it's not okay when the same race kills another race. Just like Janari Riggs in Chicago, I believe it was last week. He was 9 years old. This is how he was killed. 9-year-old little boy. About 7 children under the age of 10 so far have been killed in the last month in Chicago. Well, a grown man, and he was African American, just like Janari Riggs. They're both African American. Came up to this little 9-year-old boy and pointed a gun right at his chest at close range and shot him to death. Now the ambulance came, they tried to save his life. But can you imagine how their family feels? See, why is it okay, this idea that comes out of the liberal community, the leftist community, that if it's the same race killing the same race, it's okay? Or if it's the same race enslaving the same race is okay, because there's 7 million slaves in Africa owned by black Africans. And it's been that way since the dawn of time. And the 43 million slaves that we know of, that we even know of in the world today. Check out walkfree.org. I was reading about slavery in the Native American communities. And they did enslave African Americans, by the way. They did have them as slaves too. But it's when the white people own them, that's bad. And then, of course, there were slave owners, just like Kamala Harris's father was black and British and a slave owner. And they're wealthy. They lived on a plantation. And her mother was a Brahmin, upper class, so he married, the two classes met. She was upper class, he was upper class. She was not a descendant of slaves. They didn't treat their slaves any better. 10,000 slaves in this country were owned by free black African slaves, free, different class. And I was reading, oh, Native Americans did enslave other Native Americans, but since they were the same race, it wasn't a racist thing. Oh, so it's okay as long as that 9-year-old boy, Janari Riggs, was shot by an African American, it's okay. As long as you're enslaved, as long as it's not based in race, because that would be a hate crime. You think the man that walked up to that little boy and shot him in the chest, do you think that was a crime of love or friendship? I say that was a hate crime. That's what I say. Or even better, oh, they're enslaving their same race. That's okay, as long as it's not racist. It's okay. Okay, I gotcha. So if a family member enslaved, because that's even closer, not only are you the same race, you're the same family. So if a family member enslaved their other family member, like a father enslaved his daughter and kept her in the basement for 24 years and raped her every day. And she had 8 of his children, and 1 died and rotted in the basement. That must be even more okay. That was Fraulein Frizzell. Her father, Joseph Frizzell, was finally put in prison at the age of 85. At the age of 85. So that must be even more okay if a family member does it. Of course, she was white, they were white. But white people don't suffer as much, just like Oprah said. They're on, even if since they're white, they're on a higher level. No matter how low they are, they're on a higher level. They're not oppressed as much, they don't suffer as much. So Fraulein Frizzell, who slept on feces and urine, and with the decaying body of one of her children, and all her children had to sleep with the decaying body of their sibling, on feces and urine that had turned moldy for 24 years. She still got it better than Oprah. Because Oprah, when she said that, see, Oprah was African American. So she still got it better than Oprah. I'll say no more.